When you lose someone you love, your life becomes strange. I find myself missing the strangest things. I miss being in crowds. I miss being in the security line at the airport. I miss talking to strangers and the random din of a theater before the show begins. Most of these things were inconvenient at the time, things to be tolerated or rushed through to the destination. Yet I find myself missing them nonetheless. I miss popping into a store just to browse and stopping to get just one thing from the market and not having a ritual for entering and leaving the house or the car that involves 3 steps and sanitizing my hands. I grieve those who have been lost, the thousands I will never know who have left more missing them. I also grieve the moments that never were, the times I might have spent in people's homes, the hugs that did not happen, and the meals that went unshared. I think we all agree this has been a very strange time in our lives. As we explore grief this morning, we also explore how to companion others as they grieve. Because loss is an experience that is common to every person who lives, and yet feels so incredibly monumental and unique when it comes to our doorstep. Our worlds shift in its wake and are never quite the same again. And it is also true that other people's lives are not caught up in the waves of our personal grief in the same way. This can be both a source of deep upset and a source of healing. It upsets us when we are bowled over by grief and see others going about ordinary things. When I'm holding a loss in my heart, how can it not be felt by the world? And when we are in a place to heal, having others nearby who are not as affected as us is deeply important. We need those other people to be able to bring a meal, to be able to think about taxes, and to be the ones to remember whether it is Tuesday or Saturday. Others to hold the mundane while we hold the tragic. Because it is also true, there will come a time for us to hold thoughts of utility bills and dry cleaning, to walk the dog and vacuum when someone we know is holding grief that fills their personal horizon until they forget things like stars for a bit. And there will come a time when we will forget and be annoyed at the noisy person 3 rows back in a crowded auditorium. We will be impatient again in a line that moves too slowly. We will be bored again at the holiday meal that is stretched far too long with relatives we may only see once a year. As we go through grief, part of what makes it bearable is sharing it with others, whether it be a family gathering around or a congregation, whether that gathering be in a home or over phone calls, knowing that there are those who are holding those mundane things and noticing our holding the tragic reminds us that the mundane will come again. Because I think of the path from grief toward healing not as a straight line, but more as a spiral. You begin the journey outward, but you also curve back toward grief time and again. It can sometimes feel like going backward, when in fact, it is the beginning of another lap going just a bit further away from the most painful parts. We must remember that as we journey together in this time of grief, because, like all loss, the collective one of this pandemic will become memory too. Some of us will be ready to celebrate, and some of us will have sadness at the exact same moment, inspired by the same event. And 2 days later, we will find our positions reversed. The milestones and markers will be different for each of us. And that is the strange gift of community. We might wish that our experiences mirrored one another a bit more closely, that we felt pain all at once and joy all at once, but then the mundane would unravel amidst the tragic. And there would be no one to listen and hold our hand while we set down everything else for a moment. All our lives have become strange, and our grief is strange too. What I can tell you now is that the journey forward from here will continue to be strange. As Gus and Ida taught us in our Time for All Ages, there will be times to growl and to howl. There will be tears, and there will be laughter and games too. There will be stories shared, as well as confusion when losses come. And there will be hope mixed in too. Inexplicably, frustratingly, somewhat annoyingly, hope will come into the moments we least expect. From our children, our parents, our pets, and yes, perhaps even on the news, we see life unfolding and healing and creating new ways of being, even as we mourn what was or what wasn't. And it is together that we will heal from this strange year and our strange grief. Together we will not only put some of what was back together, but also create whole new ways of connecting out of what we've experienced. May we remember longing for inconvenient crowds. May we remember how precious a conversation about nothing can be with the right person. Let us never again take for granted the touch of another. Let us hold the mundane for those holding the tragic. May each of us have space to hold the tragic, while others hold the trivial when we need it. And together, may we hold this strange grief. So may it be.